There is one relationship in your life that money changes more than any other. Not your friendships, not your colleagues, not the strangers you pass on the street. Your family. The people who were there before the money. The people who will be there after it. The people who are supposed to love you regardless of what's in your account. And yet, watch what happens to a family when one person starts to rise. Watch who calls more. Watch who calls less. Watch who suddenly needs help, who suddenly has opinions, who suddenly gets quiet in a specific way that wasn't there before. Money doesn't change people. That's the lie everyone tells. What money actually does is reveal who people already were. And nowhere is that revelation more painful, more confusing, and more real than inside your own family. Today we're going through every level. From the household where money is never discussed because there's never enough, all the way to the family that exists on paper, but not in any room you actually walk into. If you've ever felt like your family sees your bank account before they see you, this video is going to explain exactly why. And if you haven't felt that yet, keep watching, because the level is coming. Level 1, $0 to $10,000. You are invisible, and everyone pretends that's fine. At level 1, your financial situation is not discussed in your family because discussing it would mean acknowledging it. And acknowledging it would mean someone might have to do something about it. You are the member of the family who is quietly struggling. Maybe everyone knows. Maybe only some people know. Either way, the unspoken agreement is that it isn't mentioned. Not to protect you, but to protect the comfort of the people around you. At family gatherings, you show up. You contribute what you can. Maybe you bring something small. Maybe you offer to help. Maybe you just show up and that's all you have to give. And the family receives this in a way that feels like tolerance rather than appreciation. You are there. You are accounted for. But you are not the person anyone is leaning toward in conversation. The advice flows around you, not to you. Nobody asks what you think about the family finances. Nobody consults you about decisions. You are present at the table, but absent from the conversation that matters. Here's what hurts most at level 1. It's not that people are cruel. Most families at this level aren't cruel. It's that you are loved in a passive way. The way you love furniture in a room. You'd notice if it was gone, but you don't think about it while it's there. And sometimes in quiet moments, you wonder if the way they treat you would be different if your situation was different. You don't say that out loud, but you wonder. Level 2, $10,000 to $50,000. You exist. You are no longer invisible. You are manageable. Something shifts at level 2. Not dramatically, not the way you'd want it to. But the temperature in the room is slightly different when you arrive. You have something now. Not a lot, but something. A steady job, a small savings, a trajectory that suggests you are not going to be a problem. And family, without ever discussing it openly, reorganizes around this information. You start to get asked things. Not important things yet, but things. How's work going? Are you still at that job? Did you see the news about this or that? The questions are surface level, but they represent a reclassification. You have been moved from the category of person we worry about to the category of person we check in with. Holiday dinners are slightly easier. You don't feel the same low-grade tension of showing up with less than everyone expects. You can pay your share of things. You can say yes when someone suggests a restaurant without quietly calculating whether you can afford it. But here's what you also notice at level 2. The family still has a pecking order, and you are not at the top of it. There is someone, maybe a cousin, maybe a sibling, maybe an uncle, who has more than you. And the family gravitates toward that person in ways that are subtle but unmistakable. The best seat at the table, the longest conversations, the loudest laughter at their jokes. You are no longer invisible, but you are not the center either. You are somewhere in the middle,
acknowledged, included, but not sought out. And that middle distance is its own particular kind of loneliness. Level 3, $50,000 to $250,000. You get opinions. Suddenly everyone has thoughts about your life. Level 3 is where something new enters the family dynamic, and it arrives wearing the costume of love. Advice. When you had nothing, nobody offered advice because advice implies there are options to consider. Now that you have something, the family discovers that you have made choices they have thoughts about. The house you're considering is in the wrong area. The investment you mentioned
sounds risky. The job you left was stable, and maybe you should have stayed. The person you're with, well, since we're all here and being honest, the advice is not malicious. That is the confusing part. It comes from people who genuinely believe they are helping. But what it actually communicates is something more complicated. You have become visible enough to have an opinion directed at you, but not successful enough yet that the opinion comes with respect attached. At level 3, family members start coming to you for small things. A loan, a favor, someone needs a cosign, someone needs a reference, someone needs to borrow the car or stay for a while, or get some help with a situation that is always just slightly beyond what is comfortable to say no to. And here is the specific discomfort of level 3. You are successful enough to be asked, but not wealthy enough to say no without it becoming a thing. The ask comes wrapped in family, in history, in obligation, in the implication that this is what people who love each other do. And saying no means having a conversation you haven't been equipped to have. This is the level where you learn, slowly and sometimes painfully, that not everyone in your family is rooting for you. Some of them are watching, measuring, calculating the distance between where you are and where they are. And some of them, quietly, without ever saying it, are hoping the distance doesn't grow too large. Not because they want you to fail, but because success in someone close to you requires you to update something about yourself, and that update is not always welcome. Level 4, $250,000 to $1 million. Respect arrives. So does something that looks like respect but isn't. Something happens at level 4 that you were not prepared for. The family gets proud. Not in a quiet way, publicly. Your name gets mentioned in conversations you weren't part of. Someone heard you were doing well and passed it along. The family story about you, the one that used to be either absent or vaguely concerning, has been updated to something that reflects well on everyone connected to you. Aunts and uncles who never called start checking in. Cousins you lost touch with resurface. The family WhatsApp group becomes a place where your name appears more often. At gatherings, people want to sit near you. They want your opinion. They ask about your work with a genuine interest that wasn't there before. This feels like love. It feels like belonging. It feels like what you were always waiting for. And then you start to notice something. The way people talk to you has changed, but it hasn't always changed toward you. Sometimes it has changed toward what you represent. The calls that come in always have a shape to them. They begin in one place and end somewhere else. Someone wants to know how you did it. Someone wants advice on their situation. Someone wants to introduce you to their son or daughter. Someone just needs a small thing that won't take long. And the small thing is never actually small. At level 4, you are respected. But you are also useful. And the difficulty is that from the inside, respect and usefulness can feel identical until you test which one it is by saying no. When you say no at level 4, you find out very quickly which kind of attention you were receiving. Real respect survives the no. Usefulness does not. Level 5. $1 million to $10 million. The family divides. At 7 figures, the family does something you weren't expecting. It splits. Not in a dramatic way. Not in a way that gets announced or discussed. but in a way that you feel over time, in a pattern you can't ignore once you see it. One group moves closer. They orbit. They are the people in your family who have decided that proximity to you is a strategy. They call regularly. They are interested in everything you're doing. They make themselves available. They are warm, present, engaged. And you want to believe it is genuine, because sometimes it is. But sometimes you are a resource being cultivated, and the cultivation looks exactly like love. The other group moves away. These are the ones who cannot update their picture of you fast enough to stay comfortable. The cousin who used to be the successful one in the family and is no longer. The sibling whose choices look different now that yours are visible. The relative who believed certain things about what was possible for people like you, and your bank account has disproven those beliefs in a way that requires them to either change or create distance. The distance group will rarely tell you why they've pulled back. They'll be busy. They'll have things going on. The calls will get less frequent in a way that feels organic until you notice the pattern. And when you see them at gatherings, there will be a specific politeness. Correct, functional, not unkind. That is the exact emotional temperature of people who have decided to be fine with something they are not entirely fine with. At level 5, you will lose relationships you thought were permanent, and some of them will be the ones you were most certain about. Level 6, $10 million to $100 million. You are no longer a person, you are a position. At 8 figures, the dynamic inside your family stops being about relationships and starts being about access. You are no longer asked how you are doing in the way people ask when they want to know the answer. You are asked in the way people ask when they want the conversation to open into the territory they actually came for. There is a script. It begins with care and arrives at a request. You know the script. You have heard it enough times that you can feel where it is heading before it gets there. Your decisions, who you spend time with, who you include in what, who gets access to what parts of your life, have consequences that ripple outward in ways that would not have been true at any previous level. A holiday invitation becomes a statement. A missed birthday becomes data. A decision about inheritance or partnership or investment has the power to reshape relationships that have existed for decades. People in your family start being careful around you. Not dishonest, careful. They choose words. They manage impressions. They are on their best behavior in a way that is meant to be invisible, but isn't, because you have learned to see it. And the care, which is real, mixes with the performance of care in a way that makes it very difficult to know where one ends and the other begins. At level 6, your family gatherings feel different. You are present but elevated. People defer to you. They laugh at the right moments. They do not argue with you in the way they once did. The friction that used to exist, the ordinary friction of people who know each other too well, has been smoothed out, and you miss it. Because the friction was proof that someone was still engaging with you as a person rather than a position. Level 7, $100 million to $100 billion. You are a dynasty. Your family is a structure. At this level, the family has changed shape entirely. You are not having holiday dinners in the same way. There are staff. There are properties. There are family offices. Literal organizations staffed by professionals whose job is to manage the financial and relational architecture of the family. There are trusts. There are legal structures. There are agreements, sometimes formal, sometimes informal, about who gets what and when and under what conditions. The people in your family exist in a system that your wealth built. And the system, like all systems, changes behavior. People within it are not simply your relatives anymore. They are participants in an institution. Some of them were born into this. They have never known anything different and cannot imagine it. Some of them arrived later and have had to adapt. All of them relate to the money before they relate to you. because the money was there before they arrived and will be there after they leave. Your children grow up knowing they are different. They do not always know how to carry that. Some carry it well, some do not. The relationships they form outside the family are complicated by the same thing that complicates yours. You can never be entirely certain who is here for you and who is here for what you represent. And at this level, there is a truth that almost nobody at lower levels believes, and almost everyone at this level eventually confirms. The money did not bring the family together. For some families, at some levels, it built something remarkable, a legacy, a foundation, a set of values that extend beyond any individual. But for most, at most levels, the money did not change what was already there. If there was love, the money amplified it. If there was dysfunction, the money amplified that too. If there was distance, the money made it wider. If there was closeness, the money made it complicated. Money does not create family. Money reveals family. And by the time you reach this level, you have learned something that cannot be taught at any lower level. The most valuable thing in your life is not what is in your account. It is the people, very few, possibly counted on one hand, who knew you before the number got big, who would still be there if the number disappeared tomorrow, and who engage with you as a person rather than a position. That is not a financial asset. It cannot be managed or structured or placed in a trust. It is either there or it isn't. And money, in the end, is the most expensive way in the world to find out which one it is. Subscribe. Every video on this channel shows you exactly what changes at every level. In banking, in travel, in family, in every system that touches your life. The next one might be the one that changes how you see all of it.